Have you ever worked so hard for something that quitting felt less like giving up and more like admitting that someone was right about you all along? That is where John was. And this is his story. John was 17 when his father said the thing that never left him. Kitchen table, television on, the kind of silence that fills a house when people have stopped trying. John had rehearsed the words for weeks. Finally, he just said them. He wanted to open a restaurant one day. His own place, his own kitchen, his own food. His father didn't shout, didn't even look away from the screen, just said, flat and quiet like a door closing, "People like us, John, we don't build things. We work for the people who do." Then the program came back on. 9 words, no argument, no conversation, and something small went out inside John quietly, the way a candle goes out. One moment there, then gone. But here is what John did that night, and every night after. He opened the notebook under his bed and wrote down a number, small at first. The amount he had saved that week washing dishes at the restaurant down the road. He wrote it down, added it to the total, and looked at it before closing the book. He did that every week for 20 years. Not because he was careful with money, because every time that number grew, he was saying something back to his father he didn't yet have the courage to say out loud. Every pound, every missed weekend, every midnight bus home was a sentence in a letter he was writing with his life. The letter said, "I am building towards something, and one day you will see what people like us can do." He met Elena at 31. Warm, steady, the kind of person who makes a house feel looked after. He told her about the restaurant, not as a dream, as a plan. She listened to everything. When he finished, she said, "So, what are you waiting for?" He married her 8 months later. He opened the restaurant at 34. Small place, quiet street, wooden tables and yellow lights. He painted the walls himself, carried the chairs in on a Tuesday morning. The night it was done, Elena stood in the middle of the empty dining room and said, "Look what you built, John." For the first time since he was 17, his father's voice went completely silent. And for a while, for a beautiful, ordinary while, life felt exactly like it was supposed to. Regulars who came every Friday and sat at the same table, the smell of bread in the morning before anyone arrived. Elena and Sophia at the corner table on Sunday afternoons, Sophia coloring while Elena read, both of them simply there in the place he had made. John would stand at the kitchen pass and look out at them and feel something so solid and so his that he didn't have a word for it. He didn't need one. Then the other restaurant opened 2 blocks away. Glass walls. A famous chef. 3-week waiting list before it even opened its doors. John's tables began to empty, one by one, like candles going out in a room. 2 investors pulled out the same month. John didn't tell Elena straight away. Saying it out loud would make it real. When he finally told her, she put her hand over his and said, "We'll figure it out." Her voice was steady, but her eyes were careful in a way he had never seen. And that her trying to hold herself together for him broke something in his chest the email never had. He started staying late, sitting alone at the corner table in the dark, staring at the empty chairs. And you have to understand something about empty chairs in a restaurant you built with your own hands. They are not furniture. At 2 in the morning, they are a verdict. They sit there in the dark, and they speak to you in the voice you fear most. People like us, John. We don't build things. He would get up and straighten chairs that didn't need straightening. Wipe counters already clean, just to have something to do with his hands. Because sitting still with that voice was the worst thing of all. Elena called at midnight. "Come home." He said 5 more minutes. 2 hours later, he was still there, One Tuesday in November, a storm came in hard. Rain like a curtain, wind pressing against the windows. By 8 o'clock, every table was set, every candle burning, and not one person had walked through the door. John started turning off the lights, moving toward the door. He had turned off 3 when the bell above the entrance rang. An old woman stood in the doorway, coat soaked through, white hair flat against her face. She held her handbag against her chest, the way you hold something when everything around you feels uncertain. She looked at the empty restaurant, then at John, and said apologetically, "Are you still open? I just need a few minutes out of the rain." Something moved in John, warmer than pity, more deliberate. "Come in," he said. "My name is John. Let me take your coat." She smiled carefully. "Margaret, thank you." He hung her coat near the kitchen to dry, brought her tea with honey, brought bread, and then he brought her a bowl of his November soup tomato and roasted pepper, rich and slightly smoky, a warmth that didn't sit on the tongue, but moved through the chest and outward, the kind of warmth that reaches the places in a person that the cold gets into first. Margaret looked at the bowl, then at John. "You didn't have to do all this." "I know," he said. "I wanted to." She ate slowly, watched the storm through the rain-covered glass. Occasionally, she closed her eyes the way people do when something tastes like something they remember, a place, a person, a time when someone fed them that way. John cleaned the counter and left her in peace. The rain hit the windows. The candles held. When she finally stood to leave, she looked around the room one last time, the wooden tables, the yellow light, the candles still burning on every empty table, as if the room was full and always had been. Then she looked directly at him. "I've walked past this restaurant 100 times. Tonight was the first time I came in." A pause. "You made something here not everyone can make, John. You made a place where a person feels like they matter." She left. The door closed. The storm continued. John stood very still. She hadn't said the food was perfect. She hadn't said the room was beautiful. She said she felt like she mattered. And in 25 years of cooking, nobody had ever said that. He had fed hundreds of people. But tonight, in an empty room, in the worst storm of the year, with a bowl of November soup and a warm coat and his own name offered first, he had reached one person in a way that meant something real. He looked at the empty chairs, and for the first time, he did not see a verdict. He drove home past the harbor. Through the rain, he saw the lighthouse standing in the black water, light turning slow, steady, unhurried, waves breaking against its base, wind enormous around it. And the lighthouse didn't fight any of it, just kept turning, shining into water so dark it couldn't possibly know if any ship was out there at all. And John understood. The lighthouse doesn't turn because it can see the ships. It turns because going dark is the one thing it must never do. Because on the worst night, when every sign says nobody is coming, that is exactly when the ship appears. And if the light is off, even just that once, the ship never finds the shore. Margaret had come on the emptiest night of his life, the night he was already reaching for the switch. She found him because he was still on. He pulled over and sat in the parked car in the rain until he understood it fully. Then he thought about his father. About 9 words and a television screen and a boy who carried them for 25 years like they were the truth about him. And quietly, without anger, without triumph, he put them down. He didn't need to prove anything anymore. He already knew what it felt like to keep a light on when every reason said to turn it off. And he knew what arrived when you did. He drove home. Elena was at the kitchen table, a cup of tea gone cold beside her, waiting the way she always waited without making him feel guilty, just present. And there, asleep in Elena's lap, was Sophia. Small and warm, her face completely trusting, one hand curled loosely around the edge of her mother's sleeve. John stood in the doorway and looked at the two of them for a moment. His wife, who had never once stopped believing in the light. His daughter sleeping in the middle of something her father had built. He sat down across from Elena. She looked up at him. The fear that had lived in her eyes for 8 months was gone. Something steadier had taken its place. "I think I've been measuring the wrong things," he said. "Tell me," she said. And he did. He didn't save the restaurant overnight. There were still hard weeks and frightening numbers. But John stopped sitting in the dark, counting empty chairs. Every morning he unlocked the door, turned on the yellow lights, made the November soup, and put a candle on every empty table. Because a lighthouse doesn't only shine when the ships are close. It shines because it is a lighthouse. That is the whole point. Margaret came back the following week with her friend Rose. Rose brought her daughter the week after. Slowly, quietly, one person at a time, the restaurant began to fill again. His father's voice didn't disappear, but now when it came, John didn't pick it up and carry it. He simply let it pass. Because he knew something now that no argument had ever given him. He knew what it felt like to keep the light on. Every morning, the door, the yellow lights, the November soup, the candles on the empty tables. Every morning, his answer to everything that had ever told him he couldn't. He was still here. The light was still on. And somewhere out there, without him knowing, another ship was already turning toward the shore. If this story stayed with you, subscribe to TaleRise. Every Monday and Friday, a new story for learners who want language that moves them and lessons that last. Like it so more people can find it. And if someone in your life is close to turning their light off, share this with them today. Tomorrow morning, before anything else, write one sentence. Something real you have built in your life, in yourself, that exists because you kept going when it would have been easier to stop. Put it somewhere you can see it. That is your lighthouse. Keep it on.